60,000 women were burned alive in Europe. Not by criminals, by judges, priests, and neighbors. This wasn't a moment of madness. It lasted 300 years, and it was completely legal. It started with a book. In 1486, two German priests wrote a manual, a step-by-step guide on how to find, torture, and execute a witch. The book was called Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches. It became a bestseller, second only to the Bible. The book claimed women were mentally and morally weaker than men, more vulnerable to the devil. That single idea killed 60,000 people. Suddenly, every village had a witch. Every dead cow, every failed harvest, every sick child had a cause. And the cause was always a woman. You didn't need evidence. You needed an accusation. And once someone pointed at you, your life was already over. Who were these women? Not monsters. Midwives who delivered babies. Healers who made medicine. Widows who owned land someone else wanted. Women who lived alone. Women who spoke their mind. Women who simply refused the wrong man. Inconvenient women. That was the real crime. Witchcraft was never about the devil. It was always about control. The church didn't act alone. Kings supported it. Courts enforced it. Ordinary neighbors participated. This was society working exactly as designed. And the people who suffered most weren't the powerful or the rich. They were the poor, the alone, the ones nobody defended. If you were accused, the trial was a formality. The verdict was already decided before you entered the room. They used the water test. They tied your hands and threw you into a river. If you floated, witch. If you drowned, innocent. You were dead. Either way. They weighed you against a Bible to light, witch. They searched your body for the devil's mark, a birthmark, a scar, anything. Then came the torture, not to punish, to extract a confession. Because without a confession, the execution wasn't legal. The torture devices weren't improvised. They were precision instruments designed by engineers, approved by courts, blessed by priests. Sleep deprivation. Strappado, the rack. Sessions that lasted days. They broke every woman, eventually. That was the point. When you finally confessed, they asked for names. Who else?
Who taught you
Witchcraft. Name them. Or name them or we continue. So women named other women. Daughters named mothers. Sisters named sisters. The system fed itself on the names of the innocent. In some German villages, the trials wiped out entire female populations, entire families gone in a single year. Children were not safe. Girls as young as 9 were executed for witchcraft in Europe, 9 years old. In Salem, in 1692, 19 people were hanged. One man was stressed to death, heavy stones over 2 days. His last words were, more. Giles Corey refused to enter a plea because entering a plea meant the court could take his land. He died to protect his family's inheritance, and they killed him for it. Over 2 days. But not every woman broke. Some went to their deaths without confessing, without naming anyone, without giving them what they wanted. Murga Bien was one of the wealthiest women in Germany. Widowed, twice, independent, pregnant. They accused her anyway and burned her in 1603. Anna Gold was a Swiss maid, executed in 1782. Newspapers at the time called it judicial murder. She was the last legal witch execution in Europe. 1782, the same year Mozart was composing symphonies, the same year America is winning its independence, and Europe was still burning women. Joan of Arc was burned at 19, not for witchcraft initially, for wearing men's clothing. She had led armies. She had changed the course of a war, and they burned her anyway, because powerful women were the most dangerous witches of all. 25 years after her execution, they reopened the trial, found her innocent, declared her a martyr. She was already ash. These women didn't die in silence. Some screamed their innocence until the end. Some prayed. Some cursed the judges by name. Their names were recorded in court documents. We know who they were. We just chose not to remember them. If this is making you angry, good. Drop a comment. Share this, because the algorithm buries this story, and these women deserve better than that, because most history books give these women a paragraph. If that. Let's change that. Keep watching. Now let's talk about the men who built this system. Because none of them faced consequences, were celebrated. Heinrich Kramer wrote the Malleus Maleficarum. His own church rejected him, called him unstable, obsessed with sex and women, so he self-published. His book was rejected by the church, so he forged an approval letter from the University of Cologne and distributed it anyway. One rejected, unstable priest, one forged document, 60,000 dead over 200 years. That is how fragile civilization is. The judges who sentenced women to death earned money per conviction. They had a financial incentive to find witches. The property of convicted witches was confiscated, distributed between the court, the church, and the accusers. There was money in finding witches. Matthew Hopkins called himself the Witch Finder General in England. He was paid per witch found. In 2 years, he executed more women than in the previous 100 years combined. He died of tuberculosis at 27, never faced trial, never answered for a single death. King James I of England was obsessed with witches. He personally supervised torture sessions, wrote a book about demonology, and made witch hunting royal policy. The same King James commissioned the King James Bible, the most printed book in history, written by a man who watched women being tortured for history remembers him as a great king, a patron of the arts, a man of God. It forgets the women. History always forgets the women. 60,000 people, most of them women, most of them poor, all of them innocent, killed by a system that was working exactly as intended. We call it a dark chapter, a mistake, an aberration. It wasn't. It was policy. It was law. It was science and religion working together. The last witch execution happened in 1782. The apologies came centuries later. For most families, they never came at all. These women had names: Anna, Murga, Atherine, Allison, Margaret. They had children who watched them burn. They had lives that were stolen. The only thing they were guilty of was existing in a world that feared them. If this video made you angry, share it. Comment their names, because the internet remembers what history tried to erase. Like this video if you think these women deserved. Subscribe if you want the history they never taught you. Follow for the history they never taught you.